So let's dive into it. And no surprise to us that there's a glut of apartments on the market. I saw the potential for this oversupply happening in San Diego. Gosh, at least a couple years ago, it seemed everywhere you drove, within a very short distance, you would see construction of new apartment buildings. And it's not just here in San Diego. There's a glut of apartments that's happening around the country with the dynamics of supply and demand. If you're looking for an apartment today, well, you may be in luck to get a good deal on that apartment you've been waiting to get.
Just very simply, high supply, less demand. Hey, that's a great thing if you're a buyer, not so much if you're on the other side of the coin.
That's right.
But I mean, we're here in Scripps Ranch is where we do the show. That's where our office is. And I'm just thinking, I could, maybe back in my day, throw a rock and hit an apartment building one way and then throw it the other way and you hit another apartment building. Now, that's a little facetious, obviously, but literally you have the apartment buildings that's right off Carroll Canyon, and you have the ones that are off Mira Mesa Boulevard. They did a huge expansion. Then you go down the freeway just a little bit. There's one now that's off the side of Poway Road. Then you have one that's right by the Vaughns off of Scripps Ranch, and you're like, holy cow, and that's just a microcosm of it. I mean, they're everywhere. It's just crazy.
And Chase, how many of those apartment buildings do you think are funded with private equity?
Gosh. Yeah, I mean,
we'll find out in a few years.
Yeah, I mean, it'll take a few years because you won't know until you know. And I mean, the reason it's concerning is because if you look in September, rental rates had the steepest drop in more than 15 years. Again, not a problem if you're the consumer, but again, the landlords are the ones having the issues as they're now having to offer months of free rent, I love this, gift cards, free parking, and some are even paying for your moving expenses just to get you to sign a lease. You may want to play hardball because in some areas, they'll even cut the rent on top of all those incentives. In September, 37% of rentals had agreed to concessions like months of free rent. And I bet you a lot of people that aren't getting the free rent are the people that aren't asking for it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to kind of ask for it and say, well, hey, if you don't give it to me, well, I can go within a mile and find another apartment very easily. That's maybe nicer than yours. And so you got to understand supply demand. And there's a lot of supply out there, as you said. And you got to be willing to tell the person you're dealing with, like, well, hey, if you don't give me the deal, I've got 10 other choices I can do right now. So it's very important. And you may ask, well, what caused the problem for landlords is during the early years of the pandemic, developers could not begin building apartments fast enough, especially in the Sunbelt area where there were major population migration. It became the biggest apartment construction boom in, listen to this, 40 years. I mean, that's a long time, 40 years. But because of the delay of construction permits and labor shortages, well, development took much longer than they had hoped. It seemed no one looked around to see all the apartments going up, and now they're all competing with each other for those renter dollars.
And I do wonder now, I mean, you look at, again, all these newer apartments. What are the people with older apartments doing?
Oh, wow.
I mean,
good point.
We talked about this a couple of years ago with office space, right? Well, your Class A buildings are doing okay, but your Class C buildings were really, really struggling. Nobody wanted to go there. Are we going to see the same problem now with this huge glut of apartments where it's like, your Class C, that's not how they classify it, I don't believe, but your older apartment buildings, how are they going to be able to compete with the newer buildings that are also offering maybe comparable rent? It's like, well, why would I pay $100, let's say less even, to live in this older building? I'd rather pay the $100 more to live in the newer one with all the nice amenities. And I mean, apartment living can be great, but I don't know what those older apartment complexes, those owners are going to do to compete.
Well, hopefully they don't have a lot of expenses and they can really cut the rents a lot, because that's the only way you're going to keep those people, because you get all these other nice things, this nice shining apartment building. Why would I pay the same price? So they got to cut their rents dramatically, those old apartment buildings, which, again, good for some people that can't afford it. College students and many.
Yeah, I mean, but this is the opposite of what you want.
Yeah.
Landlords generally want to increase rents, and they're hoping maybe by the end of 2026 or at least sometime in 2027 that could occur. But I just don't think they're factoring in how many apartments are online, with, again, more still to come. And based on their current apartment inventory and new apartments that are coming, renters could be in for a lower rent, maybe perhaps until even 2028. And I think that is something to definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah, and this is also not good news for the housing market, because rent for houses will be the next to fall. And then people will have to factor in the affordability of renting versus buying a home. This would also likely hurt the demand of buying rental properties as an investment If you can't get as much rent as you thought, why are you going to spend all this money on a rental house? A lot of people do second properties. Oh, that's great. I can do, rent this house, Airbnb, and so forth. A little bit different market there with the Airbnb, but still with the rental properties, why is someone going to spend a high price for a house when you get maybe $1,000 less, maybe more, to live in a decent apartment with a lot of amenities? I mean, it's going to create the whole market.
Well, then, as you said, yeah. I mean, if you get $1,000 less on the apartment, well, then the home has to then maybe cut their rent because, you're going to have people that have their preference of living in a home over an apartment, but at what cost? So then maybe the home has to cut by $500 a month.
Yeah.
But then the people that have real estate, I mean, you really got to be cognizant of this. You have to understand what's going on in the market because you could be, I guess I'll call it blindsided, where all of a sudden you were kind of factoring into your investment thesis that you'd be able to raise rents at, I'm just going to say 3 to 5% each year. And that's one of the reasons, I'm going to buy real estate because I can increase the rents. And maybe you can't. Maybe that doesn't make it as strong as an investment as you had initially hoped. And I do wonder, as you said, with private equity, a lot of times when they buy things, they bake in all these assumptions, right? Well, they're going to bake in the interest rate that they're going to think they can get. They're going to bank in what they think the potential vacancy rate is. They're going to bake in what they think the estimated rental rate is. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, shoot, we were off on 2 of those things. Yeah. Now that changes the complete dynamics of the investment. We over-leveraged ourselves, and that's where the issues can ensue with private equity.
And I think it's public information, but I would bet that the builders, they're trying to get these apartment buildings built and rentals and so forth, don't go because maybe they can't get it. But the building permits, how many building permits are going to be coming online? I think that's public information.
It is. Yeah, you have building permits and housing starts that come out every single month. Well, actually, they will be coming out again every single month. The government shutdown has now finally come to an end this past week. But yeah, you can see, and they have multifamily versus single family within the subset of data there.
But if I'm going to build an apartment building here in San Diego, I would like to go down to the county recorder's office and say, well, how many building permits do you have coming online? And it takes a lot of research, but this is why I think many people invest poorly. They don't think ahead very, very far. Like, oh, it'd be so great to have this apartment building. Oh, I can make it so beautiful. You forgot about the upcoming competition.
Or they look at like saying, okay, there's this apartment down the street that they're 90% full with, X amount rental rate. Well, I'm just going to build one too and have the same assumption. Well, that's a stupid assumption because then you're going to have to compete with them, which competition, again, is great for the consumer, not so much for, I'm going to say, the business or the landlord.